They say silence is golden, that peace is precious, that harmony is the highest form of civilization. The Celestial Accord believed this so deeply, they made it law across half the galaxy. They forgot that sometimes the most dangerous sound in the universe is a human woman's lullaby, especially when she's singing it to her children while sharpening a blade. Pause, then stronger. My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez-Chen. This is the story of how I broke their perfect, peaceful galaxy and why I do it again. Part 1. The Garden of Silence, New Eden, was supposed to be paradise. Rolling hills of golden grass beneath twin suns, cities that grew like flowers from the earth itself, their bioluminescent spires reaching toward painted skies. The air smelled of cinnamon and rain, and every sunset looked like a masterpiece. It was also a prison. The Celestial Accord had built New Eden as a cultural preservation habitat for the survivors of Earth's destruction. After the Cataclysm Wars, when humanity's homeworld burned in nuclear fire 50 years ago, the Accord had graciously relocated the scattered remnants of our species to this beautiful, controlled world. For your own protection, they said, until you can learn to live in harmony. What they meant was, until you stop being human. I was born here, in the sterile perfection of New Eden's medical facilities. My mother, Dr. Sarah Chen, had been one of Earth's leading xenobiologists before the war. My father, Captain Miguel Vasquez, had commanded Earth's last evacuation fleet before their ships were gently impounded by Accord peacekeepers. They named me Elena, Bright Light, because even in their grief they believed I could illuminate the darkness. They had no idea how right they were. Growing up on New Eden was like living inside a beautiful cage. The Accord provided everything: food that tasted like cardboard, entertainment that felt like sedatives, education that taught us to be grateful for our captivity. But they couldn't provide what humans needed most: freedom. My parents tried to give us pieces of Earth. Hidden away in our sterile apartment, they taught my sister Carmen and me about snow, about oceans, about the feeling of real soil beneath your feet. They showed us forbidden recordings of Earth music, jazz that made the Accord monitoring systems nervous, rock that made their peaceful algorithms twitch, and they told us stories. Once, my mother would whisper as she tucked us into our regulation beds, humans touch the stars. We didn't ask permission. We didn't wait for invitations. We built ships from dreams and stubbornness and launched ourselves into the dark because that's what humans do. We explore. We grow. We refuse to be contained. By day, we attended harmony classes, where Accord instructors taught us to meditate, to suppress aggressive impulses, to find contentment in stillness. But by night, Carmen and I practiced what our father called the old ways. Hand-to-hand combat adapted for artificial gravity. Problem-solving exercises that rewarded creativity over compliance. Most importantly, he taught us to think like humans, chaotically, unpredictably, dangerously. The Accord sees us as broken, he'd say during our secret training sessions. They think we're a species that needs fixing. But we're not broken, mijas. We're just unfinished. I was 16 when I realized what he meant. It was during a routine cultural adjustment session, mandatory psychological counseling designed to help humans integrate with galactic civilization. Dr. Zephyrian, my Accord counselor, was a tall, graceful being with translucent skin and eyes like oil slicks. Elena, she said in her perfectly modulated voice, your recent aptitude tests show concerning spikes in creative problem-solving and independent thinking. These are symptoms of persistent human deviation syndrome. Is that a disease? I asked innocently. In a manner of speaking, yes, but treatable. We have excellent cognitive adjustment programs that can help you find peace with limitation. That's when I understood. They didn't want to preserve humanity. They wanted to cure us of it. I smiled and nodded and told Dr. Zephyrian that I was very interested in finding peace. I lied. Part 2. The Awakening. The restricted archives were supposed to be impossible to access. The Accord's quantum encryption was legendary, layers of security that would take a civilization centuries to crack. They'd never met a 19-year-old human woman with a biochemistry PhD and absolutely nothing to lose. It took me 3 years to develop the neural interface. Working in secret, using equipment borrowed from the university lab, I built a direct connection between human brain patterns and Accord data systems. The theory was elegant. Instead of trying to crack their code, I'd convinced their systems that I was an authorized user. The practice was excruciating. The first time I plugged in, the alien interface felt like swallowing lightning. But human brains are remarkably adaptable. After months of carefully controlled exposure, I could navigate Accord networks as easily as walking through New Eden's manicured parks. What I found in those archives changed everything. Humanity wasn't the only species the Accord had rescued. Over the past millennium, they'd encountered dozens of aggressive, chaotic civilizations. Each one had been relocated to beautiful prison worlds. Each one had been slowly, gently civilized until they forgot how to be dangerous. The Kethmore had once been galaxy-spanning warriors. Now they were pacified philosophers on a world of perpetual twilight, debating the ethics of harvesting fruit. The Vextai had built empires from pure mathematics and ambition. Now they created abstract art and contemplated the beauty of surrender. Humanity was just the latest project. But there was something else in those files, something the Accord had tried to bury so deep that even they might have forgotten it. Earth's children weren't all on New Eden. During the Cataclysm Wars, 13 colony ships had launched from Earth's burning surface. The Accord had intercepted 9 of them, redirecting their populations to supervised worlds. But 4 had vanished into the galactic deep, lost to the void, presumed destroyed. One of those ships was the Defiant Hope, and according to intercepted transmissions I found buried in the archives, it was still out there, still free, still human. I spent the next 2 years preparing. Publicly, I was Dr. Elena Vasquez-Chen, a promising young xenobiologist working on cultural integration studies. I published papers on human psychological adaptation, gave lectures on the benefits of Accord guidance, even dated a few of the approved young men in our community. But privately, I was building something the galaxy had never seen, a revolution disguised as research. My official project was developing new methods of human psychological rehabilitation. My real project was reverse engineering Accord biotechnology and weaponizing it. The Accord used bio-neural networks for everything: communication, transportation. Even their city infrastructure was alive and responsive. It was elegant, efficient, and utterly vulnerable to the right kind of virus. I called it the Chaos Protocol, a self-replicating code that introduced random variables into Accord systems. It didn't destroy, it confused, made their beautiful, orderly technology hiccup, stutter, make mistakes. But the real breakthrough came when I realized I wasn't working alone. Carmen had always been the artist in our family. Where I was direct and scientific, she was subtle and creative. While I was hacking Accord networks, she was doing something far more subversive. She was teaching. As a cultural arts instructor, she had access to thousands of human children and young adults. Officially, she taught them to appreciate Accord aesthetic principles. Unofficially, she was passing down Earth's true legacy. Through carefully disguised lessons, she taught them Earth songs, melodies that carried emotional frequencies the Accord couldn't detect. She showed them how to move with human rhythm instead of Accord precision. Most importantly, she reminded them what they were. Every human carries a piece of Earth's fire, she'd tell her students. The Accord can dim it, but they can't extinguish it. Because fire isn't just heat and light. Fire is the refusal to surrender. By the time I was ready to implement the Chaos Protocol, Carmen had trained over 3,000 young humans in what she called cultural resistance. They looked like model citizens, but they moved like dancers, thought like poets, and dreamed like rebels. We were no longer prisoners. We were an army. Part 3. The Signal. The message came on a frequency that shouldn't have existed. I was deep in the Accord network, planting the final pieces of the Chaos Protocol, when my neural interface picked up something impossible, a human transmission originating from outside Accord space. The signal was faint, fragmented, barely detectable even with my enhanced equipment. But the voice was unmistakably human, female, young, speaking in an Earth dialect I'd only heard in historical recordings. Calling any Earth survivors, "This is Captain Maya Santos of the colonial defense ship Defiant Hope. We are still free. We are still fighting. If anyone can hear this, we're coming home." I nearly severed my neural connection in shock. After 50 years of silence, one of the lost colony ships was not only alive, but actively searching for other human survivors. But there was more. Over the following weeks, I managed to establish a tenuous communication link with the Hope. What I learned shattered everything I thought I knew about humanity's situation. The Defiant Hope hadn't been running for 50 years. They'd been hunting. Captain Santos, granddaughter of one of Earth's last admirals, had spent 5 decades turning her colony ship into something between a warship and a ghost. Her people hadn't just survived in the galactic deep. They'd thrived. "We call ourselves the Free Fleet now." Her voice crackled through my illegal transmissions. 3 colony ships, 2 captured Accord vessels, and a dozen smaller craft. 15,000 souls who've never bowed to alien law. But most importantly, they'd been watching the Accord's cultural preservation programs. They knew about the prison worlds. They knew about the slow, gentle genocide of human spirit. And they were coming to stop it. "We can't fight the entire Accord," Captain Santos explained during one of our clandestine conversations. "But we don't need to. Their whole system depends on order, on predictability, on the belief that chaos can be contained. You give us an opening from the inside, and we'll show them what happens when you cage fire." The plan was audacious in its simplicity. During the next Harmony Festival, New Eden's biggest celebration of Accord culture, I would activate the Chaos Protocol. While their systems were confused and scrambling to respond, the Free Fleet would emerge from hyperspace and begin immediate evacuation of any humans who wanted to leave. It wasn't a perfect plan. We couldn't save everyone. Many humans had been too thoroughly conditioned to want freedom. But for those who still carried Earth's fire in their hearts, we could offer them something the Accord never could: choice. "There's something else," Captain Santos said during our final planning session. "We've been in contact with other species, the ones the Accord rescued before us. Turns out some of them remember what they used to be. The Kethmore still have warriors. The Vextai still have builders. They're all just waiting for someone to light the fuse." I smiled as I prepared the final upload of the Chaos Protocol. "Leave that to me, Captain. Humans have always been good at starting fires." Part 4. The Festival of Chains. Harmony Festival was New Eden's most beautiful lie. For 3 days every year, the Accord transformed our prison into a showcase of galactic cooperation. Representatives from dozens of species arrived to witness humanity's successful integration into civilized society. We performed traditional dances, heavily modified for Accord sensibilities, displayed artwork, approved by cultural committees, and gave speeches about how grateful we were for their guidance. It was propaganda disguised as celebration, and this year it would be the stage for revolution. I stood in the central plaza, wearing the flowing white robes of a cultural integration success story, surrounded by thousands of humans who had no idea their world was about to change. Above us, Accord officials floated on their elegant bioplatforms, observing their greatest achievement. Carmen was positioned across the plaza with her student performers, ready to begin what the program called a celebration of human artistic evolution. In reality, they were about to perform the most dangerous song in human history. At exactly 14:30 local time, as the twin suns reached their zenith and cast no shadows, I activated my neural interface one final time. The Chaos Protocol released like a virus into the Accord's bio-neural networks. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The festival continued. The officials smiled their perfect smiles. The crowd applauded politely. Then the bioplatforms began to wobble. It started small, tiny fluctuations in their hovering patterns, barely noticeable micro-corrections in their stabilization systems. But chaos compounds exponentially. Within minutes, the platforms were listing like boats in a storm, their occupants struggling to maintain their dignified composure. That was Carmen's cue. She raised her hands, and 3,000 young humans began to sing. It wasn't any song in the approved cultural database. It was "We Shall Overcome," an ancient Earth protest anthem, sung in full four-part harmony with every voice trained to project Earth's emotional frequencies into the Accord's sensitive auditory systems. The effect was immediate. Accord officials clapped their hands over their hearing organs, their perfect faces contorting in pain and confusion. Their bioplatforms, linked to their nervous systems, began spinning wildly, some crashing into the decorative gardens below. But the song was just the beginning. As the last notes faded, I stood and spoke in a voice that carried across the plaza. My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez-Chen. I am the daughter of Earth, the granddaughter of humans who touched the stars. For 50 years you have kept us in this beautiful cage, telling us it was for our own good. You have tried to cure us of our humanity, to make us peaceful, to make us grateful. Around the plaza, other voices began to join mine. Carmen's students, underground resistance members, humans who had been waiting their entire lives for this moment. But we are not grateful, we are not peaceful, we are human, and today we choose freedom. That's when the sky caught fire. The Free Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 3 massive colony ships, their hulls scarred by decades of battle, followed by a dozen smaller craft that moved like predators through the upper atmosphere. They didn't fire on the festival. Humans don't target civilians, even alien ones. But their mere presence shattered the Accord's illusion of control. Captain Santos's voice boomed from every speaker in the city. Citizens of New Eden, I am Captain Maya Santos of the Free Fleet. We have come to offer you a choice your captors have denied you for 50 years. Stay and remain pets in their beautiful cage. Or come with us and remember what it means to be human. The evacuation began immediately. Transport shuttles, their hulls decorated with Earth's ancient symbols, descended from the fleet. But they didn't take everyone. Only those who chose to leave, who were willing to trade safety for freedom. About 60% of New Eden's human population walked toward those shuttles. The rest stayed behind, too afraid or too conditioned to risk the unknown. I didn't judge them. Freedom isn't for everyone, but it should always be a choice. Part 5. The Price of Freedom. The Accord response was swift and overwhelming. Within hours of our escape from New Eden, their peacekeeping fleets arrived in force. Hundreds of ships, each one a masterpiece of bioengineering and cooperative harmony. They could have destroyed the Free Fleet easily. Instead, they talked. Dr. Vasquez-Chen, came the transmission from their flagship, a living cathedral of coral and light. I am Coordinator Ethereal, speaking for the Celestial Accord. Your actions today have caused significant disruption to galactic peace. I was aboard the Defiant Hope now, standing on a bridge that hummed with human energy instead of alien serenity. Around me, the survivors of New Eden were learning to be human again, some crying, some laughing, all of them free. Good, I replied. Peace without choice isn't peace. It's just a prettier word for slavery. We have never enslaved anyone. We have provided care, guidance, protection. You have provided cages, I interrupted. Beautiful ones, comfortable ones, but cages nonetheless. And humans don't belong in cages. What followed was 3 hours of the most intense philosophical debate in galactic history. The Accord genuinely couldn't understand why anyone would choose dangerous freedom over safe captivity. Their entire civilization was built on the principle that harmony was the highest good, that chaos was a disease to be cured. But Captain Santos and I had an advantage they didn't expect. We'd done our homework. During our conversation, the Chaos Protocol was spreading throughout their networks, not just on New Eden, but across dozens of worlds where rescued species had been placed for their own protection. The Kethmore warriors were remembering how to fight. The Vextai builders were remembering how to dream. The careful order the Accord had spent millennia creating was beginning to crack. "You're destroying galactic civilization," Coordinator Ethereal said, and for the first time I heard something like fear in their voice. "No," I replied. "We're giving it back its soul." The standoff lasted 6 more hours, long enough for the Free Fleet to extract humans from 7 other preservation worlds, long enough for my Chaos Protocol to wake up sleeping warriors and dreamers across a dozen star systems, long enough for the galaxy to remember that some things were worth fighting for. When the Accord finally moved to stop us, they discovered something that terrified them more than any weapon. We weren't alone anymore. Kethmore battlecruisers emerged from hyperspace alongside human ships. Vextai constructor fleets began building something the galaxy had never seen, a space station designed by pure human creativity and alien engineering genius. The revolution was spreading, and so, faced with the choice between total war and letting us go, the Accord chose wisdom. "You may leave," Coordinator Ethereal said finally, "but you cannot return to Accord space. You will be considered criminals, outcasts, enemies of galactic peace." Captain Santos laughed, a sound that rang through our ships like music. "Lady, we've been outcasts since the day we left Earth. We're used to it." Part 6. The New Horizon. 3 years later, I stand on the observation deck of the New Horizon station, watching human ships dock alongside Kethmore warriors and Vextai builders. Below us, a planet we call Second Chance spins slowly in the light of its binary star, humanity's first free world since Earth. It's not paradise. The atmosphere requires breathing gear, the gravity is too heavy, and the weather systems are still being terraformed. But it's ours. We chose it, we built it, we earned it, and it's just the beginning. The Free Alliance, as we've come to call our coalition of escaped species, now controls 17 star systems. We're not an empire. We're something stranger, a confederation of chaos, a republic of rebels, a democracy of the dangerous. Carmen leads our cultural preservation efforts, teaching young humans and aliens alike about the music, art, and stories their ancestors almost lost. My parents, now in their 70s, work as ambassadors to newly freed worlds, helping other species remember what they chose to forget. And I'm doing what I always did, breaking things that need to be broken. My latest project is a communication network that spans the galaxy, carrying messages the Accord can't block or decode. Every day we receive new signals from prison worlds, from hidden colonies, from species ready to remember themselves. The Accord still controls most of the galaxy. They still build their beautiful cages and fill them with grateful prisoners. But now there's an alternative. Now there's choice. "Director Vasquez-Chen," my assistant says, approaching with a datapad. "We're receiving another transmission from the Helix Nebula. The Mordak Collective is ready to break free from their sanctuary world." I smile and look out at the stars, no longer distant lights, but destinations waiting to be claimed. "Prepare a liberation fleet," I say, "and tell them we're coming." Because that's what humans do. We break chains, we light fires, we remind the universe that some things, freedom, choice, the right to dream your own dreams, are worth any price. The galaxy wanted to cure us of our humanity. Instead, we infected them with it. Epilogue. The echo continues. In classrooms across Free Alliance space, children learn new stories. Not about harmony and peace and grateful surrender, but about humans who refuse to be tamed. About the day a scientist named Elena lit a fire that spread across the stars. About the choice between beautiful cages and dangerous freedom. They learned that their grandmothers and grandfathers were refugees, but their parents are pioneers. That humans don't conquer worlds, we liberate them. We remind them what they used to be before someone told them what they should become. The Accord still calls us criminals, terrorists, enemies of galactic peace. They're right. We are the enemy of any peace built on the bones of choice. We are the terrorists who bomb cages with the explosives of hope. We are the criminals who steal spirits from their prisons and give them back their wings. But mostly we're human. And being human means never accepting that this is all there is. It means looking at the impossible and saying, "Watch me." It means hearing "you can't" and translating it as "try harder." The echo of Terra, the song of Earth, spreads across the galaxy now. Carried by human voices, alien throats, the dreams of children who will never know the inside of a cage. We are the daughters of a dead world, the mothers of a free galaxy. We are fire. We are chaos. We are choice. And we're never going back to sleep. Freedom isn't a destination, it's a choice you make every single day. The choice to think your own thoughts, dream your own dreams, and refuse to let anyone tell you who you're supposed to be. Elena Vasquez-Chen understood that. So did every human who walked toward those shuttles, trading safety for the chance to be themselves again. The universe is vast and full of beautiful cages. But it's also full of keys, if you know where to look. And sometimes the key is just remembering that cages are built to be broken. If this story reminded you why freedom matters, light up that like button. Subscribe to keep the fires of human spirit burning bright. And tell me, what cage in your life needs breaking? This is Elena's echo spreading across the stars, but the song isn't finished, not as long as there are humans to sing it.